Hi, this is the Livermore Referendum Central Park Plan Part 5, an analysis of land values and development costs. This is rough feasibility. The property that we're analyzing as a relief valve to downtown development for housing is in addition to the relief valve being used over here on the backside of City Hall. We're talking about the backside of the Sunken Gardens off of Pacific Avenue. There's more land over there that can be used as a relief valve, and this is an analysis to try to give a rough feasibility only on how we might utilize this space finally after since World War II has just been sitting there as an empty pit. The bicycle recreational facility would remain using the same area of the Sunken Gardens. I played around with the property lines, and it doesn't really matter whether we draw the line sort of an extension through here and work around. So I just expanded it a little bit. It doesn't really matter. This is feasible even if we cut it through here and keep this open space or some other use. The point of this analysis is to demonstrate utility in the market right now, how we can use this as the pressure relief valve for relieving divisiveness in downtown Livermore. Let's take a look at rough development costs for this acreage. Now, I expanded the acreage to these areas. I may be infringing on things that cannot be infringed on. This time I included the right-of-way here, and I included the right-of-way here, but I put a condition in the development scenario that the developers would have to provide both north and south fire lane and pedestrian pathways. I want the developer to look at this as part of the charm that he needs to incorporate into his building, because it'll end up being prettier than this just paved trail that runs through here now. If you let the developer take it over, he's not going to want a rough looking trail working through his property. It's kind of like if you ever gone to the Ritz in Santa Cruz or Half Moon Bay, Coastal Pathway has a right and it goes through the Ritz. Well, the Ritz, it's nice walking through the Ritz. You turn it over to the developers, they're going to improve it. They want it to look good to highlight their project with a nice entry. Somehow you always want to make the entry into your project the showcase. Very nice. So I played around with expanding this. This idea still works either way. The feasibility study. What are the numbers? These numbers are based on the following conditions. This is the Livermore Referendum for Part 5, Sunken Gardens Analysis, Relief Valve to Downtown Housing, Rough Feasibility Housing Study, August 2019. Mimic Diablo Boulevard Danville project, where there's a similar project going on over there right now in a pit. They had to dig the pit. Here we already have the pit. Now, it needs to be engineered, of course, but there are some benefits to having the pit there already. So at the density of 45 to 65 units per acre, let's use the lower density, 45 units per acre, and we would end up using the 9.73 as a reference of the total acreage of 390 units. Now, we want affordable rental units set aside. Let's round off to 90. That's an easy number for me to remember. 90 units in affordable rental units. Set that aside. That's one of the fundamental requirements of this project. We got to end up with that, or none of this makes any sense. Okay, unless you just want to raise money. Market rate units, moderate price range for sale. If we use 90 of our 390, then the market range rate project is about 300 units. Now, if we lower that number below 300, that's fine too. It's not going to matter all that much, because the lower the price range goes, probably the higher the price of the individual units will be. I'm pushing these units down into the 550 to 650 price range feasibility for the market rate. So the land value per unit right now, if this was a flat piece of land sitting along First Street, you could probably end up with $70,000 per unit guaranteed sale price right now for these units. But this is down in a hole, and we're asking for the developers to set aside 90 units of rentals, which will turn over to a group like Eden Housing to manage. So it's down in a pit, and they're rental units. Let's call the whole project valued, instead of 70,000 a unit, let's value it at, say, 40,000 a unit. That's going to pique the interest of builders and developers. Trust me. Total market value, therefore, selling only 300 units times 40 is $12 million. The city doesn't own this land, but the city is the controlling power that grants the zoning that enables all this to happen, and park districts and cities work together just like park districts and schools. When we convert this, we need to incentivize the park district to work with it. So let's give them 25%. And I don't care what the number is, but I'm pulling that out of the air as reasonable for their gracing the city with permission to do this. The city takes 75%. And the benefit is this $9 million goes to the city, and now we can subsidize. We have 300 units. We can subsidize the construction costs at $100,000 per unit, bringing the cost way down for the rental units that we turn over to Eden Housing. Now, I haven't answered thousands of questions that have to be answered, but you see, this is the rough feasibility strategy that, with the creative, open-mindedness, transparent work within the city leadership, we can do stuff like this. And now's the time to do it. More to follow. Thank you for listening.